Hello, boys, girls, and it's of YouTube. Today I'm going to be doing my comparison between the V1 and the V2 barebones. So, when it comes to these knives, there is a lot of hate when it comes to the barebones because when you compare them to the Rep or the Alpha Beast, they really don't compare. I personally really like the barebones series of knives. This one in particular is personally my favorite. So today we're going to be comparing the V2 and the V1. I'll be giving my personal opinion on what I think about both of them, their price range, and everything of that sort. So let's begin with the V1 and its specifications. Let me first open up the actual knife so you guys can see the knife while I sit here and tell you guys the specs. Let me get that focus there. There it is. Okay, so the overall length of this knife is 9.875 inches. The blade length is 4.5 inches. The blade material is made out of 154 cm. It has a handle length of 5.625 inches. And its weight, the biggest difference between both of these knives, is 5.7 ounces. Now, let's move on to the quality of this knife. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Before we do that, let's move on to the V2, actually, so we compare both of them directly. So, as you can see, a big difference between both these knives, immediately off the beginning, is that the blade styles are completely different. One is a bayonet style blade, as it says on Blade Runner Systems website, and the other one is a Tonto style blade, and a sexy Tonto at that. So, let's get this knife out of the way so we can begin the specifications on the V2. So when it comes to the V2, the overall length is 10 inches. Now I am getting this information from Blade HQ's website, so they could be rounding it up. Who knows? And the blade length is 4.375 inches. It has a cutting edge of 4 inches. The blade material, just like the V1, is 154 cm. And just like the V1, it has a stonewash finish on the blade. Look at that sexy stonewash finish. One of my favorite finishes, actually. And as you can see as well over here, it also has a stonewash finish. So, it has a flat, or rather, a plain edge type. As you can see, there's no serrations or anything of the sort. And the weight is 5.25 ounces. Like I said about the V1, the weight is quite different. Though it may not sound like a lot, it is not even a full ounce difference, but it does make a gigantic difference when it comes to flipping. So let's continue on with the specifications. The handles are stainless steel. As of both of these knives, the handles are stainless steel. It runs on Zen pins. Both of them run on Zen pins. And it is sandwich construction. Both of these are sandwich construction. It does use barrel spacers for the bottom screws. This one uses barrel spacers for the bottom screws. They both runs on phosphorus bronze washers. And one of the big differences, in my opinion, is the weight and how it flips. I personally prefer a heavier knife, and I personally like and genuinely love a heavier knife, so that's why this knife, in my opinion, is my favorite. I love it. It's my baby. So let's talk about the quality of both of these knives and compare them. So when it comes to the quality of both of these knives, I would say that when it comes to fit and finish, the V2 beats the V1, because the biggest issue with the V1, let's get that knife out of the way, the biggest difference and the biggest issue with the V1 was that everything on this knife was sharp. Not just the blade, because when you get this knife, it's a fucking razor, but everything, right? Everything on this knife is sharp, okay? And when I say everything, I mean everything. Inside the handles in here, sharp. The chevrons, inside the chevrons, sharp. This little cutout right here, sharp. This nipple, when it first came out, was so sharp it could actually cut you. And there's a video of a reviewer actually cutting himself with the nipple and bleeding. It's fucking crazy how they could send that out. But hey, you know, they made a couple runs of these, and then they stopped making them altogether, I think. I haven't seen them drop a V1 in forever, so they're probably completely done making V1s, and you can usually only get them on secondhand for anywhere from $150 to $200. I personally got both of these knives secondhand. Technically, I got my V2 in a giveaway 2.5 years ago, but technically I got both these knives secondhand. Also, let's continue with the fit and finish of the V1. The screws down here, when you get any Blade Runner Systems knife, I don't know if it's the distributor or if it's Blade Runner Systems themselves, but they put red Loctite in these screws down here, which is fucking crazy, because any newbie who doesn't want to have a latch fucking hitting the left and right of their metal and banging up the inside of the metal right here would just get rid of it, right? Because if you have a latch right on your bite handle on the inside of your safe handle, eventually it's going to start chewing away at that metal. So a lot of people normally are going to start taking out the latch and just, you know, get rid of it, because it not only affects flipping, it is loud and annoying. So people would just take off these screws, but however, it seems like Blade Runner Systems doesn't want them to do that. So they put red Loctite down here, and after a while of that red Loctite, the actual screws themselves, or the spacer screws, the spacer barrels rather, they rusted, and these screws actually fell out. I don't know if it's a common issue, but it happened with mine. And now I have duct tape holding it together. It serves as both a holder of the knife, keeps it actual fucking, you can actually use it, you know, keeps the handles from flying apart, and it is a bite handle marker. So yeah, I've had this knife for years, and that happened, and I was fucking pissed. And since this whole coronavirus situation is going on, I actually couldn't send it in to get it repaired. I'm still working on that. Hopefully they fucking respond to your emails. Edward, please respond. Anyways, continuing on to the V2 now. They really just completely upgraded the knife from the V1. They completely changed everything. The only really sharp parts at all, right? They completely got rid of all the sharp issues. You know, inside of the handles aren't that sharp anymore. The chevrons inside, you know, aren't completely sharp where it fucking hurts anymore. None of that, except for this right here. This, when I first got this knife, if I can get it to focus, please focus for me. No, you're not going to focus, not today. Okay, anyways, you get what I'm saying. The nipple right here is very sharp when you get it, even on the V2. They couldn't fix that issue. I mean, it's not as sharp as the V1, right? It isn't going to cut you, right? But it is still pretty sharp where it's going to pinch you and you're going to think you got cut, but it's not sharp enough to draw blood. So that is just a bit of a nuisance. Also, what they did, and what I personally love, and a lot of flippers love, is that they actually crown the spine, right? So what crowning the spine is that, as you can see right here on the V1, it is a fucking big old block, right? So let's sit here and let's flip the V2 over here without dropping the damn knife. Okay. The V2, as you can see right here, has a crown spine all the way up to the tip. Okay, that means when you're sitting here and you're flicking the knife back and forth, right, and you're hitting it against your fingers and your knuckles, it isn't going to actually hurt you and it's not uncomfortable. However, with the V1, and everything is sharp on this knife, mind you, the spine right here is fucking unbearably sharp. So when you're going back and forth on your hand and doing ricochets and such, it's going to eventually wear down your hand. So I, like a sane person, decided to file down the edges and make it kind of like a chevron, kind of like, you know, chamfered, I guess. I kind of chamfered the back spine right here, so it no longer is an issue for me. So you have to do a bit of mods when it comes to the V1 to actually get it comfortable to where you're able to flip it. And now, I personally prefer, when it comes to the blades, I personally prefer the bayonet. Okay, I love the bayonet style blade, even though some people think it's absolutely fuck ugly. I personally love it, but I could see why people love the Tonto, because this thing is fucking beautiful itself. You know, a Tonto and a bayonet, it's kind of hard to, you know, decide which is, you know, your favorite really when they're both this goddamn sexy. So now let's move on from the specifications and the fit and finish of the knife to the actual flipping. Actually, hold on, I forgot about one thing. Here's the big difference as to why these things weigh so, they weigh so different, right? So you're probably wondering why. How come this knife weighs 5.7 ounces, but this knife only weighs 5.2? Why is that? So the biggest difference, and I think and some people personally like this, is that the handles right here, if I can get it to focus, please focus. Please, camera, not today. Don't do it. The handles, as you can see on this very blurry image, the V1, the one on the bottom, and the V2, the V1 is actually thicker than the V2. So this V1 uses a lot more material, but it costs less, which is interesting. I do not know why, but the V1 actually, when it came out, cost less than the V2. The V2, when it came out, was $225, when the V1 was $200, period, when it came out, okay? These are beginner knives, so these are for people who want to really get into flipping. They have already gotten a knife before, really liked it, and want to upgrade. These are what these knives are for. That's what Blade Runner Systems made these knives for. So, enough with the rambling. Let's move on to my actual flipping and what I think of these knives. So first, let's begin with my favorite knife, the V1. And here's where it really shines when it comes to flipping. When you're flipping this knife and manipulating it and just doing anything, you know, rollovers and everything of the such, without dropping the damn thing, it just goes, you know? It really just, all that momentum, it wants to go somewhere. So if you can really direct it and move it, this thing can fucking just go. And I absolutely love it. It's my favorite knife for that simple reason. I love heavier knives personally because I like the momentum-based tricks and just, you know, it just goes. I personally prefer the V1 over the V2 because it just goes, you know, and I love it. Also, for those people wondering on the tolerances of this knife, here, let's just show you guys real quick. Okay, there's up play, down play, up play, down play. It has quite a bit, you know, it has a moderate amount. Also, for those of you guys wondering, a tap, nowadays, here's the tap, you know, it taps, it wiggles, it jaggles, it does all the things. So, moving on to the V2. It has much tighter tolerances when it comes to actual play. There's down play, up play, down play. Up play isn't nearly as bad as the V1 down there, and it is a much more balanced flipper. While that knife right there is handle heavy, this knife is much more balanced. It is a much more balanced flipper, and it flips pretty good, but you know, I personally prefer handle heavy knives. So it isn't to its detriment, okay? Some people really prefer their balanced knives, and this knife does do well with rollovers and such, and you know, Chaplin's really nice, and 0G is really nice, and thumb rollover very nice. It does all the things very, very nice, you know? It does what it was made to do. The guys at BRS made these knives to flip and just overall fucking go, and they did a goddamn good job with these barebones rather. And I can't really say too many good things about them because they're just so goddamn good. And that's just my thoughts on these knives. That's a comparison between them. Now, if you were to go out and buy either one of these today, you can get both of them anywhere from $150 to $200 on the second market. But they are no longer making the V1, which is over there on the floor, by the way. I'm not going to pick it up because I'm too lazy. So, the V1, I haven't seen a drop in it in quite a while. I think they gave up on it, personally, from the looks of it. They probably gave up on making that completely, and they're just sticking to the V2 and the trainer. There's a trainer version. I currently don't have it because I personally don't use trainers. So, yeah, if you want to pick up this knife today, you can get it on the second market in basically brand new condition for anywhere from $175 to $200. But if you're looking from anywhere from 5 to 6 condition or anywhere from 1 to 5 condition, you can get it anywhere from $150 to $100. It matters where you go and where you look. You can get a V1 for the same exact price. There doesn't seem to be any price differential between both of them, even though the V1 is a bit rare, but hey, you know, that's how the second market is. You can buy this knife new. You'll have to wait for a drop for that to happen, but it is possible. Currently, if you want a bare bones knife, they are actually having the trainers in stock. I will leave a link to the trainers if you guys want to buy one. It isn't the live blade, it isn't the Tonto. It's a trainer. It has more of a blade style of the V1 over there, but hey, you know, it's a trainer. For you new guys who want to get a really good knife and not cut yourself, you know, there's an option right there. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun to make. I had a good time making it. Hopefully it was informative. Hopefully it wasn't bad. Hopefully I'm trying to change to a different kind of format, not sitting there in the laundry room flipping a fucking knife. You know, I'm trying to get higher quality shit out there. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was fun making. I love my barebones. My V1 is my favorite. You know, I beat the shit out of that, but it's my baby, you know? I love the V2. It's good for beginners. Highly recommend it. And if anyone honestly wants to get it, go right ahead. I personally prefer the V1. But hey, you know, it's just my preference. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and peace. Have a good one.